In 1998, I got a tank full of sea monkeys, and then I got hungry. So I took the sea monkeys out of the water and I spread them on toast with a knife, and I ate the sea monkeys on toast.
That's the most deranged thing I've ever heard in my life.
I've been alive for 33 years, and that's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
Super fucked up.
Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
It is our basic human right to be fuck-up.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Occultae Veritatis.
Welcome to Occultae Veritatis podcast. My name is Arthur, and joining me today in studio we have
Sage Murray,
Leon Filger,
Richard Bigley,
Ood Gallifrey.
And the soundboard demon's fucked off for the day, apparently.
Yeah.
So
we unthought from the basement again.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you do that, and I've been thinking that Harold Brownhut was a very interesting man.
Yeah.
He invented none other than everybody's favorite shitty childhood toy, sea monkeys.
There's something in here. Watch this.
Whoa! Rush into water, you won't believe your eyes, make it come alive. Sea monkeys, we grow away. Sea monkeys, we're in the outer space. Sea monkeys, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
He also raced motorcycles, and he managed the talents of a man whose death-defying stunts left audiences amazed as he jumped off of a 40-foot platform into a single foot of water.
Oh, Free Willy.
But dear listener, you are a smart and, might I add, very attractive Smarty Poo.
Oh, right on all counts.
And you've read the title of the episode, so you know that before we get into whatever's coming, we're going to need some poison.
So, what's your poison?
Guess what? We have a fucking sponsor.
Yes.
Yeah, we have been sponsored this episode by none other than Minhouse Sask. Yeah. Or Sask Prairie. I don't know. We have Sask Prairie root beer schnapps, shops a la beer liqueur. Alcoholic beverage. Hey, this one just says it's schnapps. Neat.
Yeah, and so
it's like actual schnapps, not like
no, it's
not
legit.
rum.
It's legit a schnapps. And I was talking to the folks at Minhouse, and they had said this root beer schnapps is particularly good because it's not super boozy, so it won't like fuck up your afternoon, but it's just boozy enough that it'll fuck up your morning.
Beauty.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
It's a pretty good ad copy. I'm glad they did that. See if
I just made up that ad copy. They gave me nothing to go on.
Shut up, Leon.
Hey.
Nice pap.
It's pretty good. It is a nice square glass container. Like it would look fancy.
Oh. But there's like a pattern on it too.
There is.
Yeah, it looks like it's a good liquor container.
I will point out before I've tasted this, it smells just like root beer.
Yes, it smells delicious.
I would expect nothing less from a root beer liquor.
Yeah, but like it doesn't smell like root beer with some rubbing alcohol in it.
I like it.
It's delicious.
I've always had this idea that like Minhouse being cheap beer is probably like shitty and just assumed it was going to be bad. And this is really, really good. Like I'm very well surprised.
Yeah. I'm also here to say that their beer is good. The black ice beer, like their really high alcohol beer, fantastic.
And I've tasted like bad root beer flavoring. It kind of like coats your tongue like a weird oil, but this doesn't taste like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like when it's like too like syrupy and like.
Yeah.
This is very sweet though. Like it is a touch sweeter than I would like it.
It would be good with ice cubes in it.
It would be good with ice cubes in it, but like that's my only thing is like personally I like my schnapps is a little less sweet. I don't know.
Ice cubes.
Maybe throw some like carbonated water in there.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, am trying Les Deux Frères New England IPA, brassé à Quebec, bière sans alcool.
Wait, it's called New England and it's from Quebec?
Yeah.
Weird. I got wine from Quebec once, and it was the most disgusting wine I've ever had in my life.
It's not even real French.
My husband's friend and I had a sip, and we're like, this is terrible.
Speaking
and
of
that's
French,
coming from me.
Our sticker now graces the base of the Eiffel Tower in Paris.
That's right.
Courtesy of my parents.
In another episode of admitting the crimes that have been done for this podcast.
It's all over the Tower Bridge in London.
They gotta scrape that thing like once a month. Like, get all the stuff off of the people right on and all that.
I wonder if it's one of those things where it's surprisingly like there's enough stickers on it to do like actual damage, like the Lovelock Bridge in Paris, right, where they had to cut them all off because it was too heavy.
Yeah, and they cursed 1,000 relationships.
Or like the bubblegum wall in Pike Place or something.
So based on smell alone, I'm rating this a 9.8 out of 11 and would like to send my thanks to Rose at Minhouse Brewery for hooking us up.
Yes, thank you, Rose.
Thanks, Rose. Like 4.75 out of 5.
I would give this like an 8.5 out of 10. It's very good.
It's a good rating.
Yeah.
It's good schnapps.
It's good schnapps.
8 out of 10 for me. It's a little bit sweet, but I'm sure if we mixed it with something, you could bring that sweetness down a bit.
It's way better than like Dr. McGillicuddy's bullshit you always get.
Yeah, I think I can give it an 8 out of 10. Like, I think if I'm going to drink like hard alcohol, I think I would do maybe a bourbon or a whiskey. But like, in terms of schnapps, this is really great. And the flavoring is not overpowering.
I mean, it's only 16%.
Oh, yeah.
So,
okay. It's like root beer port.
Yeah, I mean, schnapps is a light.
Yeah, it's a lighter
alcohol,
liqueur.
Right?
Yeah.
They also have a really good like Fireball adjacent one, which I really like.
I trust your opinion.
I peed it myself.
Because I'm a craft beer snob.
You are a craft beer snob.
Why? Sage likes literally everything that's ever been put in front of her.
But I really like IPAs.
Okay, I've been listening to the original, like the very first episodes.
Oh no!
And you
I love it.
There was a salami beer that you rated very highly, and there was a banana IPA that you rated very highly as well.
Guilty.
You said it tasted like banana bread, and you gave it a 10.
What did everyone else have?
The same thing.
No, like rating wise.
The salami was terrible.
I remember that.
I'd
beer.
imagine a salami IPA would be pretty shit.
I remember that salami beer tasted like if you'd let a hot rod just sit in it for a while.
Exactly.
It was
and
terrible.
The banana bread beer was like banana bread out of banana bread.
No, that stuff was good. I like that stuff.
It's kind of how you make vanilla flavoring, right? Is you just leave the beans in vodka.
Is that the one that came in like a little like
and the
banana
with
peel?
with the jacket on
that
it.
stuff was great.
Got a text from Rose at Minhouse.
Oh.
She says, "That's great. I'm glad you guys really enjoyed it."
We did.
We did. It was enjoyable.
Thank you, Rose at Minhouse.
Thank you, Rose.
And Minhouse Breweries, because you guys sponsored us, and fuck yeah. Go buy their shit if you can find it where you are.
Oh no, it's Dead-Eyed Dan, and he's heard that sea monkeys are in town. Dan, wait, don't go in there. Sea monkeys ain't monkeys, Dan. Why, they don't even live in trees. They live in water, and for little fellas, they sure have big families. Now, Dan, there's only room enough in this town for one kind of monkeys, and that's sea monkeys, so you better head on out.
Sea monkeys don't live in trees, my good man. They live in water. Why, it's elementary, my dear Watson. You just add sea monkey eggs to prepared water, and before your eyes, you see them come to life.
Hey, Harry, what's the story? Whether you're a construction worker, student, or housewife, you'll go crazy over sea monkeys like everybody. Pick up a kid at your favorite toy or hobby center. Add the sea monkey eggs to prepared water, and you'll see amazing live sea monkeys swimming before your eyes. When you feed them, your sea monkeys will grow and have big families.
So that's the story, Harry?
That's the story.
Fellow country monks, here's how we're going to put instant life into the economy. Let's whip up a winning team of amazing live sea monkeys, because sea monkeys are more fun than a barrel of people. All you have to do is just add sea monkey eggs to prepared water, and you'll see instant pets swimming alive before your eyes.
I gaze into my crystal ball and see some monkey business going on in your life. I see sea monkey eggs being added to prepared water and amazing pets coming to life. I see them swimming and doing crazy things. The future looks bright for your pets. They will grow and have many little ones with just a little love and care. Yes, there's no doubt about it. I see sea monkeys in your future.
Sea monkeys, the amazing instant pets for the whole family.
Harold Nathan Brownhut
Brown Hut?
Brown
good
Hut.
last name.
Brown Hut.
Oh.
This is a German name. Was born March of 1923 in Memphis, Tennessee. He's the son of Jeanette and Edward Brownhut. Harold was raised in New York City, where he lived most of his life.
Oh.
Not a lot is written about his early history because he's just a businessman, but a lot is written about his businesses. He was an inventor. He had 195 patents to his name, all of which you can find on Google. Actually has a really good patent viewer. At 195 patents, most of them were toys and things to entertain children. He invented X-ray specs.
Cool.
Which were actually just 2 pieces of cardboard, the 1/4-inch hole punched in the middle of them, and they used a feather as a diffraction grating. So you would look through this diffraction grating, and you'd see 2 images, one superimposed on the other, a little bit smaller and a little bit darker, and it kind of looked like an X-ray.
So when you would, look at your hand through these glasses, the outline of your hand would look darker than the middle of your hand, so it would look like you're seeing the bones of your hand, but that's just an illusion.
Well, and really terribly seeing the bones of your hand.
Yeah.
And the illusion part was on the face of it, because in the instructions that came with these X-ray specs, it even had here's how to convince people that you can see like X-rays.
Yeah.
To look at someone and be like, ooh, wearing that color underwear today, wink, kind of thing, right? So the artifice is always there.
Yeah.
He also invented crazy crabs.
Oh, I've had that before.
Crazy crabs are hermit crabs. He didn't really invent it, but he holds a patent for selling hermit crabs to kids. I didn't know he could patent that.
In 1998, I got a tank full of sea monkeys, and then I got hungry. So I took the sea monkeys out of the water, and I spread them on toast with a knife, and I ate the sea monkeys on toast.
That's the most deranged thing I've ever heard in my life.
I've been alive for 33 years, and that's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
Super fucked up.
It's just brine shrimp, lots of
brine
protein.
shrimp. It tastes
Or
like
lots
shrimp.
of protein, yeah.
That's so upsetting.
I think I need to go to sleep immediately, or I'll have a brain bleed.
Fun fact, when you flip over a log and you get the little isopods, the little roly-poly dudes, ours don't roll up.
Yeah.
If you collect enough of them and cook them, they turn red, just like every other crustacean does, because roly-polies are just crustaceans.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, hermit crabs, yeah. I started working on an Occultae Veritatis hermit crab shell that you could 3D print.
Cool.
Nice.
I should 3D print one.
We should go to the pet store and just try and get it in the tank, just covertly.
Just covertly dropping this
That's
little
a really
shell.
good idea.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go over 195 patents of this dude because it'd be
why
silliness.
not?
The last thing I'll talk about with his patents is his invisible goldfish, which is my favorite.
Yeah.
You send him your $1 plus 50 cents shipping and handling, and he sends you an empty fish tank, some fish food, and a guarantee that you will never see the goldfish.
Brilliant.
And people bought it.
It's like a pet rock.
It's exactly like a pet rock. The thing was, he did all of this in comic books, and nobody at the time, this was in the 60s, nobody at the time was putting ads in comic books for anything remotely like toys and stuff, because why would you advertise it in comic books? You should advertise in the Sears catalog.
This is basically all the stuff that our boomer parents grew up buying or wanting and seeing. It explains a lot now, actually.
The trope of the send $1 plus 50 cents shipping and handling to get your X-ray specs, that was Harold Brownhut. But let's talk a little bit more in depth about their sea monkeys. And this is mostly because I felt like I wanted to hyper-focus on sea monkeys, and also because the title of this episode is Nazi Sea Monkeys.
Yeah.
Philger is just salivating over there now.
So hungry.
It's like, fuck, I can still taste the crunch.
Cool.
So what sea monkeys were supposed to be were this magical experience that children would get through to get the absolute best pet ever. Oh, these would all sound so good if Trump did them.
The absolute best pet ever.
I've got them. I put the little things in, and they come out, and they're monkeys.
No other pets are better than this. This is the best pet.
It's huge. These were marketed as instant life because you add them to the water, and with a fraction of a second, sometimes people said within 0.05 of a second, there would be living, swimming sea monkeys in your tank. It all starts with the Ocean Zoo, a small, shitty plastic tank with some little thicker bits, so it kind of looks like a magnifying glass.
Yeah, like a bifocal.
Yeah. To this, you add an amount of water, and the first packet, which is water conditioner and salt. You wait 24 hours at least, 36 for best results, which in kid years is like a week.
Yeah.
Years, right?
Forever.
after you ate that, you add the second packet, which has the magical life and the eggs of these sea monkeys. And you toss the second packet in, and you start to see baby sea monkeys in the tank.
Immediately.
They'd also give you a year's supply of food, and I'm not sure that wasn't just more eggs.
I think sea monkeys are a year's supply of food.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yuck.
And like I said, all of Harold's toys were illusions of some variety, and this was no different. The first packet wasn't just a water conditioner and salt, it was the eggs. So sea monkey eggs take about 24 hours to hatch and grow to a size you can see them, because they're microscopic before that.
Yeah.
So the artifice is, you put them in 24 hours before, you tell the kids to walk away and don't pay attention to it because it's going to be boring, and then you have to add the second pouch. Now, the second pouch had a couple more eggs, a little bit of food, a little more salt, but most importantly, it had a small amount of blue or green dye. So this dye would color the water, and it would settle on the sea monkeys, and all of a sudden you'd be able to see them. Because they're small invertebrates, basically clear.
Brine shrimp.
They're brine shrimp, right? That's what they are. But you put a little bit of dye on them, and all of a sudden you can see them. Instant life!
It's just a subtle sleight of hand, you know?
Can we insert a clip from the Sea People episode from South Park?
Those sea men from the teacher's stomach somehow combined with the remaining sea people we had left in the tank and... well, look! Whoa! How did that happen? I've been up for hours doing some calculations, and I've come up with my final theory of composite dynamics. Sea people plus sea men equals society.
But honestly, Richard's just dying. You can do
They
it.
killed her. Miss Chokes on Dick died.
I always remember that Miss Chokes on Dick's nasty nickname was Chokes on Rocks, and she fucking hated it. So sea monkeys are mostly remembered for being one thing.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
Yep.
Yeah.
The world's first instant pets. You'll gasp with amazement when in mere seconds you see sea monkeys born alive.
Well, we didn't exactly gasp with amazement, Joan. When they're hatched, they're about the size of a period at the end of a sentence, and very white and not particularly nice to look at. So that wasn't much more of an experience than cultivating mold on a cheese. Some of them do marry, I understand, because in reading through the catalog here that comes along in the blister pack, some of the exotic things you can order for your sea monkey, for instance, is Cupid's arrow mating powder. It says, when sea monkeys refuse to marry, this fabulous formula quickly puts them in the mood for love. It harmlessly stimulates mating and breeding, gets them to produce more of those adorable pets.
How much does it cost to put them in the mood for love?
It costs $1 to put them in the mood for love, Joan. That's roughly what you might get for a glass of scotch. Problem was, it says there you have to name all of these things. I can't tell them apart, and there's, I guess, at least 24 in there. I wasn't about to name any of them. You have to name them all in that insurance policy and send it in.
It says,
otherwise it's not valid.
Yes, and the names have to be socially acceptable. Stinky, slimy, sneaky are not acceptable.
Well, the only names I could think of I don't think would be socially acceptable.
Chris, I noticed that you had this particular creature sitting on your shelf. Did you expect to get something like that?
No, we didn't really think we were going to get anything quite like that, Joan, but I think it would be reasonable to assume that we were going to get something that was a reasonable facsimile of what was advertised on the package, and we didn't. And as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty treacherous business. I think that if you can't trust the picture on the outside of the package to bear a vague resemblance to what's inside, that's not very good. Something should be done about that.
So as a consumer, don't be a monkey.
No, don't be a monkey.
Rather than paying $2.98, you can buy a dime's worth of fish food made up of brine shrimp eggs, add water, and you can get 1.5 billion sea monkeys.
When you see those ads.
Well, exactly. The ad copy was colorful images of chubby humanoid fish people smiling in front of their castle with like weird crowns growing out of their heads.
To give the girl one boobs?
And big, huge lips.
And they're full color. And like comic books were not full color unless they were like a very expensive issue, right? Everything else is just that kind of cheap paper and black and white.
I have a question.
Yes.
When I put the sea monkeys on my toast, were they dead or alive?
Oh, that's so yuck.
I mean, that depends on how long they've been sitting there. I'll talk more about what sea monkeys actually are. So this might answer that question later.
Oh.
Are you sure it was sea monkeys and not seamen?
Yes.
Okay.
That time.
Anyone else play the cracker game at camp?
Limp Bizkit?
Just me.
Limp Bizkit?
I've never gotten invited. Maybe I wasn't well liked.
Aww.
They just knew you're a shooter. You're going to miss all the holes in the bottom side of the bunk. Anyway, person that actually illustrated these super cool sea monkeys was a guy called Joe Orlando. And I just know that there's going to be some comic book schnob that's going to be real mad about it, that I didn't know all the things. But he drew comics for EC Comics, DC Comics, and Marvel Comics.
All the comics.
He drew tons and tons of comics. Very famous comic person, I guess.
Comicist.
Comic lovers, tell me what's
illustrator? Is that the word you're looking for?
I don't really
I believe the official term is panel engineer.
I would have believed that if everyone didn't start laughing.
Yeah, honestly. I have a little bit of the ad copy for you.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm going to try to put the emphasis on all the places that Harold wrote his own ad copy.
Oh, shit.
And these were full-page ads filled with shitty ad copy. And then these beautiful drawings by Joe Orlando.
Yeah.
Just add water, and before your very eyes, you'll see adorable baby sea monkeys being born alive. As opposed
Born alive.
And millions of boys and girls have already tried it and gasped in amazement as it worked. It also talks a big game of being able to train them. Like, you can get them to ride each other, you can get them to do loop-de-loops and follow a light.
Wait, fuck off. No way.
They're alive! They're off on the amazing live sea monkey ski trials. The game Real Live Sea Monkeys play with you. They swim against the current that you create with your Super Sea Monkey water pump. Join in a thrilling downhill race, tackle a tricky slalom course, and take the big daredevil ski jump. And the sea monkeys come with the game. It's live pets versus people. They're off on the amazing sea monkey fox hunt. The game Real Live Sea Monkeys play with you. Join in the exciting chase of a wily fox over hills and dales. Watch them race up Devil's Hill and around twisting curves in a duel to the finish. You'll think they're almost human, the way they respond to your strategy and skill. And the sea monkeys come with the game. Live pets versus people.
He had the idea from flea circuses, which were essentially small circus rings with nothing in them, that a hype man would just hype up that, did you see that? The flea jumped a whole 2 inches. That's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And people would come around and listen to the guy hawking and throw money in the hat. Like, that's what a flea circus is. So Harold wanted to do the same thing. It's like, I could do that, but with brine shrimp.
There's always been guys like that, though. Like Billy Mays with his slap chop.
Yeah, I think Billy Mays is...
Billy Mays did not have slap shot.
Which one is
harlot?
That was the other one.
Oh, I don't know the other guy, but I don't...
Yeah, that was Vince?
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, it's Vince with Slap Chop. This tuna looks boring. Stop having a boring tuna. Stop having a boring life. You're gonna love my nuts. Watch this.
Well, Billy Mays did ShamWow. I think Vince did...
No, Vince did ShamWow.
We should do an episode on Billy Mays-esque people, because there's got to be some bullshit there.
Oh, yeah.
Besides just the massive coke addictions you haven't seen since Freud.
The My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell.
Yes, Mike Lindell.
But it's the same vibe, the same verbiage, like the same emphasis that, like, this product will change your life. Like,
hucksters, snake oil salesmen.
Yeah. Do you think you love your mother? You'll love ShamWow more. Buy 6, you know?
Yeah. Like, the impressive thing about sea monkeys wasn't what Harold was doing. It's them themselves. So what sea monkeys actually are, we've said it a couple times, are brine shrimp, which are called Artemia salina, which are a 3-eyed, 22-legged, upside-down swimming crustacean.
22 legs?
That can live a whopping 8 to 10 days.
And makes a great spread on toast.
Oh, stop. This is like cat milk all over again.
And can reach a gargantuan 15 millimeters, which is 1.7 barleycorns for our American friends.
If I was the size of a housefly, 22 legs would be pretty good eating at the crab shack.
It's a lot. It's a lot. The first name, Darwin had a name for these, because Darwin had a name for all these things, and it was cancer salina. So it was salt crabs.
Oh, okay.
And now they're Artemia salina.
I've also had salt crabs.
Yeah. I feel like that's a Chinese dish. Like salt egg, salt crab.
Gotta be.
Salt and pepper crab at Gopher.
Did you eat crab?
I did eat crab.
Crab?
Being brine shrimp, they like salty shit. So,
same.
As a background, seawater is about 3.5% salt by volume. Artemia salina can live anywhere from 2.5% to 25% salt water.
That's insane.
So if you take a liter of water and an entire 250 grams of salt and just barely get it to get in there, it's almost saturated. Like you almost can't fit that much salt in that much water.
They're good with it.
And there's like, sure, cool, fine, whatever. Oh, sorry. 250 grams in a liter. That's 8.81849-ish ounces in 202 U.S. Teaspoons.
Oh,
just for anyone that's not doing the metric thing, trying to be nice, you know.
How many rods per hogshead is that?
I'd have to do the math.
Buttload.
A buttload.
Harold being Harold, he couldn't just leave anything fucking alone. You will not hear him say, well, you won't hear him say anything. He's fucking dead now. Spoiler alert. But you would have him talking not about Artemia salina, but Artemia NYOS, bred for purpose with a biologist to be bigger and longer living and just all better. And he fucking didn't do any of that. When he first put these things out, he had all this ad copy about his amazing machine that he would set up on the salt flats. And it would pick up all the salt and Artemia eggs and then give them negative and positive charges, which would float the eggs out because they were positively charged. And then they had a spinning sieve in the middle that separated the eggs. And he had this whole thing about this whole fucking mechanism that he also patented. And then no one liked it because it's boring mumbo jumbo. So he just like, oh no, actually it's our own species. Yeah, made our own species. You can still buy brine shrimp.
Oh yeah,
as like aquarium food, like dead ones, and the one brand is NYOS, because of course it is.
Oh jeez,
it's not. It's just Artemia salina, or there's a couple other species, and I'm not a biologist, but
yeah, sea monkeys are still going strong too. The website's still up. It appears to be still functional. You can order from it,
or just buy brine shrimp eggs from any like fish store.
But they don't come with the dye.
Oh yeah, you need the dye.
Got put your own food coloring in there.
Yeah.
Artemia do this other really cool thing when shit dries up. So of course they live in these brine pools. They don't live in the open ocean because they're just too small. Like they're not like a zooplankton. They need small amounts of water with lots of salt. It's their habitat. But when the waters start to get too salty, remember over 25%, and the water level starts to go down, they'll just shit out a bunch of eggs that aren't going to hatch.
Huh.
They're called cysts.
Ew.
Yeah, I know. It's a biology thing. It's gross. But they're called cysts. So what happens is they'll shit out all these eggs and then die. And then the water level will go down. And then maybe it might not rain for a couple of years. But as soon as it rains and there's enough water, out they come. They rehydrate. They hatch. They eat whatever the fuck it is they eat. Small bacteria and shit, I would assume, and other things in the water. And they fuck a whole bunch. They make a bunch more Artemia, and then the water level goes down, so they start to shit out cysts, and then they all die, and then life begins again.
Yeah.
Smart.
This is a Artemia embryo surrounded by a very tough protective shell on the outside. This embryo is capable of resisting a huge variety of environmental insults. Its ability to lose virtually all of its water. All of its liquid water is lost by evaporation without killing the embryo. And I've been interested in trying to understand how this embryo does something that kills the vast majority of animals. Very few creatures can withstand total desiccation as Artemia can. And that's why I said some years ago that we should consider the brine shrimp Artemia as an animal extremophile, because it has this astonishing ability to withstand stresses of various kinds. Okay, the Artemia embryo also has the ability to undergo hypoxia, the absence of oxygen, for months and months. And it does that, we discovered, by just stopping. It just comes to a standstill metabolically, and that's quite an achievement. In that stable state, it is able to survive in the absence of oxygen for months and months. The embryo, if conditions are suitable, the embryo then develops and hatches from the cyst as a Nauplius larva. The Nauplius larva then undergoes subsequent growth and molting, forms the adult male or female Artemia. One of the very impressive abilities of the Nauplii and the adult and stages in between is the ability to tolerate very high sodium chloride concentrations. Once again, conditions that are very, very dangerous for the vast majority of aquatic invertebrates. The Nauplius, indeed, has a very special gland in its neck called, poetically, the salt gland, which helps handle the exposure to very high sodium chloride concentrations.
Lots of these are found in salt flats, places like Salt Lake City and what's the one where they race cars at?
Bonneville.
Bonneville, thank you. Bonneville has them. Some are definitely from Salt Lake City. Those are a different species, but I don't care enough to have written it down.
Are there any in the Dead Sea?
They seem to be anywhere that there is a
abundance,
like lots of salt water
Yeah.
and salt flats.
Yeah. I have an anecdote about that.
Yeah.
In the movie Independence Day, when Will Smith opened the alien pod after causing it to crash with clever flying from his fighter jet, I know, spoilers, he opens the pod and immediately starts to gag. A lot of people chalk that up to good acting. Like, he was just acting like the alien was stinky.
I need to cut you off.
Oh.
When he has the alien corpse in his parachute and he's dragging it across the salt flat.
You're right.
Is when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, he has the alien corpse in his parachute and he's dragging across the salt flat and he checks on it. And in the scene, he starts to gag and it switches off to like a far away shot rather than a close shot. And in that far away shot, he's gagging. The reason he's gagging is because there was a quick rain that flooded the salt flats. A bunch of brine shrimp hatched. The water quickly dried up and a bunch of brine shrimp were currently rotting. And he was gagging at the smell of billions of brine shrimp rotting on the salt flats.
Yeah, as he was dragging his parachute.
What the hell is that smell? And he
that's
kicks
the line.
alien, yeah.
That was just him, because he's dragging this parachute across, kicking up dust, and the dust ends up being rotten Artemia.
Yeah.
And he's just like, what's that smell?
You know, this was supposed to be my weekend off. But no. You got me out here dragging your heavy ass through the burning desert. And what the hell is that smell?
I do not have the same experience with the smell.
Yuck.
Good. So I'm guessing then, within 8 to 10 days, you ate these brine shrimp?
Oh, first day.
First day. So
I was wrong.
How did you?
You like them fresh.
How did you? There's only ever like a dozen in a tank. How many did you have in the tank?
It was a big tank, and I had a pond skimmer, like a net, and I used the net to collect them all thusly, and then onto the toast, and then spread them out with a knife and ate it.
I don't think that's that crazy. Like I was saying about isopods, people eat them. You can cook them and eat them like weird fishy rice.
Not when they're called sea monkeys, and not when they're from a tank with a tank skimmer.
So, cool merch idea. Occultae Veritatis bread spread. It's our own secret recipe. High in protein, a little bit salty, but you'll love it.
Vegemite?
Sounds like jizz.
What's the other one? Vegemite. What's the fucking
Marmite?
British one? Marmite, Vegemite, and Monkey Mite.
Good. We can make everyone in the world gag if we become big enough. Yeah.
That's pretty much sea monkeys.
Yeah.
They're cool. They're neat. Essentially, Harold went into a fish store one day, saw a bunch of brine shrimp, and was like, I bet you I can get rubes to buy that shit. And he did. And they still do. But let's do a little scenario. This is, we're going to follow one person who I've made up and have not named and just barely written a scenario about. As he goes through,
Is it me?
It is now. We're going to follow young Richard Bigley
Yeah.
from the year 1962 into the 80s, following his purchases from one Harold Brownhut.
Awesome.
The year is 1962. You get a comic book, Richard Bigley, and in the back are a bunch of ads that let you buy shitty toys. At the time, you would spend $1.50 shipping and handling to get your very own sea monkeys, which, by the way, is the equivalent of about $10 plus $5 shipping and handling now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that in the 60s, $1.50 would be a meaningful sum of money to some extent.
But not to the point where it's going to be like, half of Dad's yearly salary.
Yeah,
It's like it's $15. You got $20, kid, you can get some sea monkeys. So not bad. And obviously he had very little overhead. So you send off your money, you label the address, 200 Fifth Avenue, New York, 10010. Binary. You wait a couple weeks and you get your sea monkeys. And you're overwhelmed. They sit in your desk for a few days, you forget about them, and in a week you flush the water and you move on.
Wait, did you gasp? Did you gasp?
Did
when
you
saw
gasp
the
in
monkeys?
amazement when you saw the monkeys, Richard Bigley?
Yes.
Okay, we have one recorded gasp. I don't know about these millions of gasps.
I gasped.
Oh, three gasps.
I bought my sea monkeys in a toy store in Drumheller, Alberta.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
In a rock shop.
Yep.
Did you also buy astronaut ice cream?
Probably.
Aren't you legally obligated to buy astronaut ice cream when you're at...
Yeah.
I think literally the only time I've ever had freeze-dried ice cream was on this podcast.
Well, I'll have to fix that.
Yeah.
When the freeze dryer gets here.
Oh, I'm so excited.
You getting a freeze dryer?
I'm buying a freeze dryer.
We can freeze dry some shrimp.
No.
Yeah.
Cat milk.
So
I'm going to freeze dry you some cat milk.
So, some years go by. It is now 1984 and you are in your early 30s.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
You were in love with none other than the World Wrestling Federation, not entertainment.
Yeah.
You got that right, brother.
Now, it being 1984, there's not a lot of internet going around. In fact, there's barely any internet going around.
Yeah, like message boards and like primitive email.
Which I'm sure there were message boards from the 80s about World Wrestling Federation. However, 1984, not a lot of internet, you get all this out of your magazines. And you go to the back and you see something that's, it's been a while, but it's a little familiar. An ad. You get this strikingly familiar ad copy, and it is for the Kyoga Steel Cobra. And if you believe the ad, it's an automatic magnetically triggered steel whip armed with a heavy caliber striking tip.
Holy shit.
Essentially, it is a pen-sized hollow steel tube that has steel springs that extend out and 4 ball bearings that when you whip them go to the very end so that you can break bones.
Oh.
It was marketed to people as, you can't get your gun license, get a Kyoga steel whip.
Oh.
Kind of want one for my purse.
Yeah. It's very similar to like a cop's extending baton, except a steel whip, so you get more of that. And gee golly gosh, you could be the proud owner of this bone breaker for only $19.95 plus $2 shipping and handling. That's about $65.
Oh, that's expensive.
So, you're an edgelord. You send your Richard Bigley specifically. You send your money off. You write the address: 200 Fifth Avenue, New York, 10010. It's the exact same address. You want a steel whip to kill people with? Cool. You want some sea monkeys and X-ray specs? It's the same guy. Now, this is the fun thing. You might have seen this ad in another place, not your WWF magazine. You might have seen it if you had a certain proclivity for toothbrush mustaches, black uniforms, the Fourth Reich.
Yeah.
Because a copy of this ad was included in the back of the newsletter for the Aryan Nations.
Whoa.
With a note saying that the inventor of this weapon is going to donate $25 to the defense fund of Richard Geraint Butler, the founder of the Aryan Nations, who was, at the time, being charged with overthrowing the U.S. government.
Yeah.
Trying to overthrow the U.S.
Was he that guy from American History X? Or is he based on that guy?
Maybe. I don't know.
Was he Edward?
No, like the old guy, the real Nazi guy.
That makes sense.
Very well could have been.
Yeah.
All you had to do was on the order form, put a little AN somewhere to confirm that you had a membership to the Aryan Nation. I will also mention here that Butler was acquitted of trying to overthrow the government and never went to trial. When he did speak to the Spokane Spokesman Review, which is a terrible name for a newspaper, he stated that Harold Brown Hunt was a longtime friend who, quote, has supported us for quite a few years.
Ew.
Ood, you want to tell us a little bit about who the Aryan Nations were?
So the Aryan Nations, founded in the 1970s, are a neo-Nazi group, founded by Richard Butler. They were based in Hayden Lake, Ohio, and they advocated for white separatism and the establishment of a white homeland. That was their number one issue. They wanted whites to be by themselves and for them to have their own area, and they didn't want any race mixing. But they also had all the standard Nazi stuff. They didn't like anyone who wasn't white, they didn't like race mixing, they didn't like Jews, gay people, trans people, mentally ill people, disabled people. They wanted these people to be eliminated, sterilized, marginalized, standard Nazi shit. The notion of an Aryan master race has its roots in early 20th century pseudoscience and racist theories, particularly associated with Adolf Hitler and his Nazi regime. I shouldn't have to remind people that scholars widely reject these ideas as unfounded and unscientific, but that doesn't stop these groups from forming. And the Aryan nations were able to grow quite powerful, and a lot of historians and sociologists chalk it up to the way they recruited. A lot of racist groups, including the Ku Klux Klan, they would put quantity over quality. They would want as many people in their group as possible. The Aryan nations didn't do that. They were very selective. Getting into the Aryan nations is sort of like an obstacle course built with a job interview. You have to prove to them that you can do something for them, that you can be valuable to them. And also you have to prove how dedicated you are, usually by getting an AN, Aryan Nation, tattooed on your body, along with a bunch of other Nazi symbols tattooed on your body, and they wanted you to declare your loyalty. In no unambiguous terms, the Aryan Nations say that the gang, the Aryan Nations, must be more important than your friends, your wife, your children, your mother, and yourself. The gang comes first, and they hold you to that. If they see you putting anything in front of the goals of the Aryan Nation, they will either cast you out or you will become an example for another Aryan Nation potential's initiation ceremony. Because their initiation ceremony usually involves the potential member performing some act of violence. Either attacking somebody, maiming somebody, performing arson, or murdering somebody. These aren't theoretical. There's a long history of murders, arsons, mass killings performed by Aryan Nations people.
Flyers touting white pride and a noose appearing on a human rights advocate's doorstep. Small incidents made public across the inland Northwest in the last 6 months. The Southern Poverty Law Center estimates that there are still 17 chapters of the Aryan Nations across the country. The question on many people's minds, is North Idaho's dark past making a comeback?
Who will ever forget?
We just want to secure the existence of a race and a future for white children.
The last time the neo-Nazi group marched down Sherman Avenue was just a few years ago. Now followers claim to be regrouping.
So we hold monthly meetings, we hold weekly church services.
The hate first blossomed in 1974 when Richard Butler moved to Hayden and established the Aryan Nations World Headquarters. For decades, Butler shared his dream of a white-only homeland with recruits who came to his 20-acre compound. Then he took his message to the streets of Coeur d'Alene.
You're scum! You're scum of the earth!
Violence is what ultimately put an end to Butler's glory days. In 1998, Aryan Nation security guards shot at a woman and her son driving by the compound. Victoria and Jason Keenan sued and won a $6.3 million lawsuit.
For too long, the Aryan Nations compound in this county has been a haven for violent racists. And I hope that this jury verdict will put an end to that.
Bankruptcy forced Butler off of his compound. Months later, the facility came tumbling down. Butler died in 2004. The voices of hate were virtually silent. Now, new voices are starting to emerge.
The Aryan Nation's goal is to have, and it's just about the same as everybody else, is to have an area where it's an all-white homeland state, country.
Paul Mullet claims to be the new national director of the Aryan Nations. His goal to pick up where Butler left off. Originally from Ohio, the 36-year-old now lives in Athol. He says this time the group is operating differently.
If we're confronted, we will protect ourselves. But as far as us going out and doing violent acts like recent media attention's been giving the Aryan Nations, no. What was in the past is in the past, and what's now is now.
But the message is the same. Mullet's website asks recruits to, quote, fight the Jews and mud people of the world.
The black pride, the Zionist pride, the Indian pride, the list goes on where they say it's okay for them to do that, but it's not okay for a white person to stand up and be proud of who they are.
Mullet says his members aren't who you might think they are.
The skinhead mentality is really losing ground, and it's more of white-collar people, good jobs.
Over the summer, the Aryan Nations group was caught circulating white pride flyers on front lawns in North Idaho and Spokane. The Coeur d'Alene Police Department charged Mullet and 2 followers with littering. This month, 3 men were charged with malicious harassment. Court documents show they threatened a Hispanic family with a gun and pit bull while passing out hate literature in another Coeur d'Alene neighborhood.
This is like basketball being played by very under-talented short people.
Norm Gissel is a lawyer who helped bankrupt Butler. The Idaho native says this new attempt at a resurgence isn't as organized and doesn't hold the same political power that Butler's group managed to gain in Kootenai County.
There is no place where they're wanted. I can't think of a single place in the world that would welcome these Nazis at the present time.
Yeah, since its golden age in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the Aryan Nations have declined in membership. They're still around, they're still active, they still only recruit like people who can do stuff for them. But the Aryan Nations itself has had its power decrease over time. But they're still listed as a terrorist group by the American government and certain agencies. They're still considered dangerous, and they still exist mostly as an offshoot, the Aryan Brotherhood, who are a prison gang that rule a lot of prisons in the U.S. Of all the violence, the assaults, the murders in U.S. prison systems, 26% of them are done by Aryan Brotherhood members. And when I say that, the Aryan Nations on the outside recruited for people that could do stuff for them, this prison gang, the Aryan Brotherhood, their number one priority of qualities they wanted to have is people that are willing to do violence without hesitation or mercy. So that just gives you an idea of what the Aryan Nations are about and what they've become to this day. But this is what the inventor of sea monkeys was donating a lot of his money to, and even creating campaigns for people to donate extra money from his profit to the Aryan Nations.
That's wild.
Like I said, Harold was a longtime friend who has supported us for quite a few years, and this was in the 80s.
Guess what else? This episode was sponsored by Minhouse Sask Brewery.
It is.
Not Nazis.
Not Nazis.
Yeah.
Tagline, Minhouse, put it up. Not Nazis.
Yeah, good schnapps, not Nazis. Yeah.
Just because it's schnapps doesn't... Anyway.
You can have that one for free. Put it on your business cards. Yeah.
Now, another organization you might have heard of that our good old Harry helped out with. 1985, the next year. Grand Dragon Dale R. Roosh of the Ku Klux Klan was in court on weapon charges.
Those fucking dorks.
And Harold Brownhut was going to testify that, yes, he did indeed lend the defendant $12,000.
Wow.
That's $33,000 in today's money. To buy 83 weapons. This was from the prosecutor's office, and the prosecutor said of Brownhut he was very pleasant, cooperative, and brought some of his little toys along, including some sea monkeys. So, going to court to talk about how, yes, you definitely gave $12,000 to the Ku Klux Klan, and look, I got some brine shrimp. We should really do an episode on the Superman comics that outed all the KKK bullshit.
Oh, right.
Because a lot of that stuff was made to look a lot funnier because Superman was like, look at these dorks.
Yeah, a lot of early comic book writers and illustrators and artists were Jewish, and it shows. They got superheroes kicking Nazi ass all over the place.
So let's reintroduce our main man, Harold Nathan Brownhut. son of Jewish parents from New York, changed his name at some point to Harold von Braunhut.
Ew.
Likely to hide the fact that he was indeed Jewish. This man sold toys and weapons to the KKK and the Aryan nations. He also collected a bunch of Nazi memorabilia and was once quoted in a magazine as saying, "Hitler just got bad press."
What?
Harold was a frequent attendee and sometimes speaker at the yearly Aryan World Congress in Hayden Lake, Idaho. And in one case, he was the one that lit the burning cross. You can even see in an old Aryan nation state.
He's like, the cross is on fire, and he's like, and if you look really closely here, if you add the little packet, you'll see little shrimp, little sea monkeys in the sky, in the cross.
The souls of little Jewish shrimp are dying on the cross.
Listen, if you use my diffusion glasses, look at the burning cross. The trees have a X-ray effect.
So you can also find his name in an Aryan Nation state office and hotline directory, essentially how to get in charge of your Nazi bosses.
Wow.
As one Colonel H. von Braunhut in Maryland.
Ew.
One award-winning filmmaker named Penny Lane, who her FAQ on her website is, "Yes, my name is Penny Lane. No, I did not change my name to Penny Lane. Yes, my parents named me Penny Lane. Yes, they were fans of the Beatles." She dug up some footage from an Aryan Nation event where someone named Hendrik von Braun spoke. She did produce a short documentary, and in that documentary she says, and I quote, "An overwhelming amount of evidence forces me to conclude that Hendrik von Braun is actually Harold Braunhut."
Oh boy.
I have this audio clip. Now, I cannot find this anywhere. My suspicion is that she got it from the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith, which is the ADL. I did not have time to reach out to the ADL to see if I could find the original clip, so it's going to have some music over it. It's going to be fine. And let's remember, too, that Harold is a vile Nazi who is about to say some really vile shit.
It'll be Mr. Hendrik von Braun, Imperial Order of the Black Eagle. Give him a big hand. Come on, Mr. Braun.
The badge of our order is not a swastika. It's not a clown cross. It's your white skin. Hail Hitler. The niggers hate the white race. The Jews hate Christians. They're the enemy. They hate us. Yet we're supposed to love them.
That, my friends, was the voice of the inventors of X-ray specs, invisible goldfish, and sea monkeys, Harold Nathan Braunhut, later Harold von Braunhut, speaking at an Aryan Nations convention.
That's upsetting.
You hate to see it. Sometimes the people you hate are talented, but still, fuck him. He's a Nazi.
But a huckster.
Yeah.
Like, he was talented at getting people to buy shit that they normally wouldn't buy, because who wants brine shrimp? You can go get them fucking anywhere. Like you're saying, any fish place will have brine shrimp because you can just put them in a fish tank and fish will eat them. That's what they're for. And he sold them to kids for the equivalent of $20 a pop.
If he was still alive today, he'd be like balls deep in NFTs.
In 1988, the Washington Post published an expose on Harold and his Jewish origins. When asked about it, Harold said, "I will not make any statements whatsoever," which is fair. Someone's doing an expose on you, you probably don't say much, but even after finding out, the Aryan Nations did not drop Harold at all. He just had too much money, and he spent a lot of it on fucking Nazis. In fact, he even spoke at Richard Butler's wife's funeral.
Wow.
After Richard Butler had said, all Jews must be burned and killed and all of the normal Nazi shit. Aryan Nations is really what the Proud Boys wanted to be, hey?
Yeah. Yeah, like, the Proud Boys are a bunch of just like
fucking idiots.
Yeah. And like the Aryan Brotherhood Nation, they're idiots too, but like, they actually...
They're really organized idiots. The Proud Boys are just a bunch of fucks.
Yeah, like
how many cereals can you name? Well, you have punched, like dumb shit.
That's what's scary about ideologies, is ideologies can capture these talented, smart people, sometimes charismatic people, and these ideologies can sway them to use their talents in horrible ways. Like Harold, like it seems like his talent was mostly huckstering and being a snake oil salesman, then donating that money to white supremacist movements. But like other kinds of people could commit mass murder or genocides, or like lead Germany to take over large amounts of territory.
I mean, hell, he bought almost 100 guns for the Ku Klux Klan. Gee, what do you think they were going to use those for?
And no kidding.
Well, it's basically they'll keep him around as long as he's useful.
Yeah.
As soon as he's not, well, then guess what?
Then he's back to being Jewish.
Then you're back to being Jewish.
Yep.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that's kind of the end of the story. Harold Braunhut moved to Maryland in the 80s, where he lived peacefully in his home in Indian Head until he died in 2003 after an accidental fall.
Yeah.
That's it. I wish there was a better ending. Like, I wish he had like some justice, some comeuppance, some anything. But no, he's just a racist spin doctor that could sell a bald man a comb, and a man who funded some of the worst people in the world.
Yeah.
And most especially to me, he will now forever be the person that you think of when you see sea monkeys and you think of Nazis.
It's true.
Yeah.
For Occultae Veritatis podcast, I've been Arthur, and I've been joined today in studio by
Sage Murray,
Leon Felger,
Richard Bigley,
Ood Gallifrey.
Don't be a Nazi and eat sea monkeys.
Yeah.
and drink Minhouse beer.
And drinking Minhouse beer. Thanks again to Minhouse.
and Schnapps.
Yeah. Sponsored by Minhouse. Drink it.
It's good.
Yeah.
Drink it now.
Love you. Bye.
Alrighty, hope you enjoyed that. But playing us out all the way from 1923, we have James P. Johnson and his song Charleston. Enjoy, and see you in just 10 more days for some more interesting bullshit.